Hey guys, unless you've been under a rock, you've been part of the Section 8 debate. What's going on now? Are there going to be time limits to Section 8? Are people going to lose their vouchers? Is the program going to be done away with altogether in the next 10 to 15 years? So many questions up in the air and so little time to discuss. In today's video, I want to go over this new information that we came across that says that our Commander-in-Chief, Donald J. Trump, may impose a 2-year time limit on the Section 8 program. If that's something that you're into, I want you to go ahead and stay tuned, and we're going to get into this video. It's going to get hot. Stay tuned. Now, no matter what side of the housing or political debate that you lay on, I think that we can all agree that everyone deserves a fair shake at clean, safe, adequate, and affordable housing. Key term, affordable. Now, that word has been overused in the last couple of months on these internet streets. I've been coming across so many people that have no insight in this industry, and I've only come across maybe a handful of people that are on YouTube that actually have their hands in the industry, and I would trust what they're saying. A lot of things have been sensationalized, namely the fact that people are just not going to receive assistance. I don't believe that that's true, but that's for another video for another day. Today, we're going to talk about the possibility that people may lose their Section 8 or have a time limit imposed on them going forward by the new administration. I think no matter what side of the political aisle you fall on, we can all agree that everyone deserves safe, clean, adequate, affordable housing. Affordable being the operative word here. Now, since we all believe that, no matter what side of the political aisle we're on, it would stand to reason that the new administration probably believes that as well. I have a couple of questions for you all, but before I get started, let me go ahead and introduce myself. I'm Victoria Langford. I'm your credit solutionist, and I'm the lead debt elimination strategist over at mycreditcall.com. That's me right on over there. Now, I'm also the author of the 90-Day Rapid Repair ebook. This is your one-stop shop for all things credit, and for a modest fee, you can have this book and get your credit score boosted 150 to 250 points, somewhere between the 60 and 90-day mark. You're not going to be stuck in affordable housing dealing with me, baby. So you can go ahead and grab that book. The links are somewhere down in the description, or there's a product that's tagged here on the video. So since we can all agree that housing is a basic human right, we have some questions here, but I want to talk about this news article that is saying that Donald Trump is going to, in fact, stop Section 8 for people when it hits the 2-year mark. So here is one of the articles that I found here, because we're going to debunk this rather quickly, because I'm here to have more of a discussion with you versus sensationalizing this thing. So I'm going to get this out of the way. Did Donald J. Trump say that we were going to have a 2-year limit on Section 8? The truth is, that is a lie. All right. He didn't sign an order that is setting 2-year limits on public housing. I want to make sure that when you all are looking at news articles, or not news articles, but social media, and you're hearing people discuss this, keep in mind the goal is to get views. The goal is to get you emotionally stirred up. I hope that you come to this channel to get a more objective viewpoint and at least see both sides of the coin, so you can then make an informed decision on how you feel about this. The last thing I want is for you to be piping up in a room full of informed people and saying something and exposing the fact that you are uninformed. I also find the Section 8 industry and just the affordable housing industry in general a very interesting place. There's so many intricacies that go on here that I like putting the puzzle pieces together. That's just part of my personality, which is why I'm an auditor. More on that later. So here is the article, you guys. It says the claim is that Trump signed an executive order setting a 2-year limit on public housing. Now, this all came from a February 6th Instagram post. I can already see issues with that, you guys. You do not believe everything you see on social media. I think that that would be ridiculous. Now, we all know that Instagram, TikTok, and all those platforms are a great way to get information. Heck, you're here on my YouTube channel because you want to get information as well, because you know I'm an insider, but you don't take it and run with it. Take it with a grain of salt. Let's continue. All right. It says Trump signed, this is the Instagram post. Trump signed an executive order that individuals who are on public housing got 2 years effective 2026. Already poor grammar, y'all. Let me keep going. It says here you have to figure your life out, because public housing isn't something you supposed to be on all your life. It's only going to get you on your feet. The post was liked by more than 75,000 times in a week. Other versions of the claim circulated widely on Instagram and Facebook. Now, this particular order did not call for that. It called for lowering housing costs. It called for checks and balances. It called for, hey, we gave y'all these funds. Where did they go? We gave you funding to revamp and revitalize your property and maybe make your units more energy efficient, more safe, more sanitary. Where did you put that money? That's what's happening right now. My last video that I posted, I told you guys that Elon Musk's Doge committee found $1.9 billion in unused HUD funds that were just sitting in an account. When you hear that, you have to understand there's a problem here. Somebody has to be responsible for this, right? Now, the answer is not to go on social media or online and go on a witch hunt. That's not what we're supposed to do, right? We're supposed to go dig deeper and get down to the bottom of the information. So let's just say in theory that this 2-year thing did become a thing, right? The Instagram post was accurate. Donald J. Trump and everybody else was going to say, hey, 2-year limit on Section 8. Before you get in your feelings about it, here is my question. When would that start? Would it be January 1st, 2026? And in what time zone? Number 2, would it be on a rolling calendar? Let's say they couldn't do it January 1. Would it be on a rolling calendar? How do we determine who should stay on Section 8 for 2 years and who shouldn't? As you all know, it's for low-income people and families. It's for the elderly and disabled. So who in that group do we put the 2-year time limit on? There are some elderly people that pay $50 for rent on Section 8, but have hundreds of thousands of dollars in assets. They have homes spread across the country that their children live in, that they could cash out at any time and be richer than all of us combined watching this channel. Where's the fairness in that? You have to ask yourself. They're elderly, but asset-wise, they're pretty wealthy. What do we do with those people? Right? You have people that, again, were probably the baby boomers and the silent generation before that. Some of those people are still kicking, and they invested heavy. They may have fallen on tough times, but now they're receiving Section 8 and they still have their assets. So I want to ask you about that. Leave me a comment below and tell me what we should do with those people, right? Tell me what we should do with those people. Number 2, if we have a single parent, whether it's a male or a female, it does not matter. Single moms are out there and single fathers are out there. So let's not have that debate, okay? I see the paperwork, you guys, okay? But what I wanted to say is, okay, if there is a family with small children, do we then say when those children are 2 years old, it's time to get on out and get on your feet? The other thing I want you to consider with that argument is who's going to watch those kids while the mother is getting herself on her feet, right? What kind of job is she going to be able to have if she has to pay for childcare? And let's just say you want this mother to go to school. Okay, that's great. So she has to go to school, she has to get a babysitter, and she has to simultaneously raise her kids in a safe, healthy environment with the pressure of the 2-year limit being imposed on her. I want you to just think of these things, because you all know my other line of work is credit restoration and debt elimination. I cannot tell you how many people I see that would be considered middle class on paper that are struggling and would be right in that boat with that single parent, okay, having to get Section 8. The other thing is that I see some of the assets of these people. Well, I see all their assets, whatever they report, for people of all ages, all disabilities, all everything. And what I can tell you is that some of these people are negative every single month, negative in that bank account every single month. I don't know how they will turn it around necessarily. That is a bigger issue that we cannot discuss in this video. But that's what I wanted to ask you. Who and what does their situation have to be for us to impose that 2-year time limit? Because now you're getting into human rights. Because why does a woman with the children get maybe more than 2 years, but the elderly person doesn't? Or why does the elderly person get more than 2 years on Section 8, but the mother with the children or the father with the children or the person that's disabled doesn't get that 2 years? And let's talk about the disability point as well, because what constitutes as a disability? Well, HUD does have a definition for that, but I think some of you watching this channel with very strong views may not see HUD's definition of a disability as the same as what you think a disability is. So are we saying that now someone that's in a wheelchair should only be getting government assistance for 2 years versus someone that has, let's just say, multiple personality disorder or bipolar, or they're schizophrenic? Does that person then only deserve to get 2 years of affordable housing? Well, they're both considered disabled by HUD's definition. Do you understand why there's so much red tape that you have to get through? That a lot of these rumors that y'all are hearing, you can't take it and run with it because there's too many other questions. Housing is tied very tightly to human rights. The two are not mutually exclusive, right? Because having housing is part of your survival, right? And having the funding for the housing is basically baked into that survival. I'm hoping this is starting to make sense to you guys, and I can only talk about it from my perspective. Now, let's talk about the type of people that some folks think are on Section 8. I will not sit here and patronize you all by saying, and I'm not going to insult your intelligence by saying that there are people that are on it for too long. Have I seen the grandmother be on Section 8 and her daughter or son be on Section 8, and then the daughter or son has a lot of kids and they're all on Section 8? Yes, I have seen the generational Section 8, and not going to talk about how I feel about it, but it does happen. So I would never insult y'all's intelligence by telling you that it is not a fact. It is, okay? Again, I've also seen people with disabilities where the disability is not visible. You know, they seem normal, and maybe they got a doctor, paid the doctor off to say that they were disabled mentally or something. Here's the thing. When it comes to that, we can't pry. Management companies and owners have a basic form that they can use to where you can't really specify what the disability is. See, a lot of y'all don't maybe understand that. So when you say affordable housing should only be for disabled and elderly, I gave you a bunch of examples a few minutes ago about the different types of disabled people and elderly people that literally have a lot of money, or you can't really tell what's going on. So how do you determine this person has a disability? Okay, moving on. Now, in nature, assistance really is meant to be temporary unless you have some sort of lifelong issue. Case in point, a family member of mine, I will not disclose who it was because I haven't discussed this with this person, but they were on food stamps back in the 90s. And this person was on food stamps for a good 2 months before they said, this life is not for me. And when I asked them why it was not for them, they distinctly said, because there are women in that office where this is a lifestyle for them. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what this person said. She said, I can tell these people are happy to be here and they don't want to change. Now, is that the case with some of these assistance programs? 100%. And for those people, there probably should be a 2-year time limit. I am one that believes there should be a time limit. But when I think, from my compliance standpoint, it's like, yeah, but for who? So now we have to figure out how we're going to implement this. And a lot of you had a lot to say in my comment section. So I would like to know that. And I want you to answer seriously and sincerely what that mother or father that has a lot of kids, maybe one or two, I don't know, but how are they supposed to juggle all of these things? Now, we can definitely say, oh, well, they should have chose better. They should have made better decisions. We're not having that conversation today, because what we're having the conversation about is what is happening today. Okay. But in a nutshell, the Trump administration is not going to put a time limit on Section 8. Okay. So that's a rumor. Be wary of what you see on these posts. Okay. Now I do think the other part I want you all to pay attention to is that if the time limit for Section 8 is ever imposed, which I'm not going to say that it never will be, I'm just going to say that they have to sort through so many things and figure out, are we violating human rights before they implement it, right? Because HUD was created in general because people were being discriminated against, because they were not given housing opportunities in growing neighborhoods, right? Watch the movie, The Banker. Right? Watch that movie and that'll kind of give you some perspective on a few things, right? Now, it doesn't have to do with HUD, but it has to do with a group of people that had to find their way through a system and get creative in order to take over a massive part of Los Angeles by buying property. Watch that movie, y'all. You could learn something from it. Now, the thing that I'm saying here is that a program would have to be created on a grand scale. Let's say we do put these people on the system for 2 years and that's it. Well, when they get off that system or while they're in it, right, you have to figure out, are we going to do job placement programs? Well, those exist, but are we going to create one single system that we have across the country? So job placement is something people are going to need during that 2-year period. They are going to have to get childcare that's going to be paid for by the taxpayers. They're also going to need to they're going to have to figure out transportation. Because again, if you have some people that are zero income or they're, let's say, below the poverty line, which is the majority of people on Section 8, somebody in my comment section said 95% of people on Section 8, I think he said they don't work or something. That is so far from the truth. So far from the truth. A lot of what we discover as fraud is people are working while they're on Section 8 and they don't think they're ever going to get caught, and bloop, it pops up. Because as you all will know, on the credit side of what I do, I work with the work number. I did a video on the work number years ago. The work number will tell on you so fast. Once somebody gets a hold of your social, guess what? That is public information, okay? It's public in the sense that it's already in the systems. We can track you. Everybody can track you some sort of way, okay? So I wanted to say that because that comment is not true. It's not true. So I don't want you guys to get stuck in that way of thinking. You come here for objectivity, and that's what I'm going to give you. Now, last few questions that I have about if Trump or whomever is in office were to put a limit on Section 8 down to 2 years. What are the rules going to be? Are you required to go to job training? Are you required to, go after the father of your kids or the mother of your children for child support? Are you going to be forced to do certain things so we can make sure that you get, the adequate game plan that you need and a structure that's really going to help you succeed when you get off of that 2-year plan? Here's another question for you guys. If we did take them off at 2 years, is there a limit to how many more times they can come back and get on it? Do they have to wait 6 months and then they can just go ahead and apply again? Because what if they get off that Section 8 and then they lose their job the next day? You see what I'm saying? There's just too many there's too many factors here. And I am thinking this way because I am a compliance professional and have been for at least the last decade of my career. Okay. So these are things that I always have to think about. And then who will be in charge of the oversight? If you were going to take somebody off of Section 8 in 2 years' time, do you know how many evictions there will be? You think 2020 was something, landlords? Oh, if a 2-year limit for Section 8 came up and you had to do all of those evictions, my God, you would be eaten out of house and home with your legal fees. Because remember, you have the state in your way as well that says you have no rights when it comes to your property. And I'm being facetious, but tenants have a lot of rights in a lot of states, and you are not going to be able to kick those people out when that Section 8 voucher ends, after that 2 years is done and they cannot pay your rent. So when you listen to these stories, y'all, please, I beg of you, be objective in the sense that you hear the information, and then I want you to put your thinking cap on and start thinking I don't want to say think like a politician, don't do that, but I want you to think like a rule maker, like a legislator, like somebody that's aware of what human rights are, like somebody that knows the protected classes in this country. Do you understand so many discrimination lawsuits are going to happen if a 2-year Section 8 limit is going to be implemented? You come here because you want to know the truth and you want to get objective input. So that's what I have for you guys. Now, if you want to participate in the comment section where everybody was going crazy, let me tell y'all, the video that I did about Section 8 fraud, it had 200 views like 2 days ago. And then I looked it like 2 days later and it had 41,000 views. So clearly housing fraud has everybody up in arms, and y'all have a lot of feelings about this. And that's why I want to keep this conversation going. I like to keep my finger on the pulse of society because I'm an insider. So I know that my viewpoint is a lot different than y'all's is. But check out that video. I want to get your input on it. And also, if you're here for credit, have no fear. I'm going to go ahead and tag my latest debt settlement video on one of these sides right here, so you can choose. Do you want to look at credit or do you want to look at housing? Either way, I hope to see you guys very soon on the next video. If you want me to keep covering this Section 8 topic, subscribe to the channel, share this with somebody, and holler at your girl in the comment sections below. I will see you guys on the next video. Credit Solutionist out.